One thing that I've learned is that my life is not made of one single philosophy. My life encompasses a bunch of different philosophies that I constantly work on, and today I want to talk about three of the main ones that I kind of always come back to. And it's not to say I'm perfect in these or know what I'm doing, but I have an idea of what it is, why I do it, and how I do it, and I want to share them with you. Alright, so on the way to the gym, I got the most janky setup right now, which I'll put a photo of what it looks like. But the first kind of quality that I think is so important towards being kind of a good human being is the trait or the quality of empathy. And empathy is something that's thrown around a lot, but I think that a lot of people don't actually know what empathy means. So I wanted to start off by defining what I think empathy means. So for me, empathy is being able to put myself in someone else's shoes, irregardless of the situation. Now, it's not a matter of justifying their actions or determining whether their action was right or wrong. It's more or less me putting my feelings aside for 1 second and thinking about their past experiences, what has happened to them in the past for them to act a certain way. Another important part of empathy is kind of trying to feel what they're feeling in a way. So given their experiences or past experiences, how would this situation make them feel? Because in order for you to understand where someone's coming from, you have to also understand why they're feeling a certain way, which I think is really, really important. Now, in terms of why I think it's important to practice empathy, I'll start off with the selfish reason that I believe. I believe that selfishly, it allows you to move on from certain things. It also allows you to put yourself in kind of a position where you understand that their actions, their reactions are not so much a basis of who you are as a person, but it's a more of a reflection of themselves. You know, they have a reason that they're acting like this. It doesn't mean it's you. It just means that they're protecting themselves from what's happened in the past. So you might be an amazing person, but they have this protection up about themselves because of something that's happened in the past, and they're just trying to protect themselves from what they think is a familiar situation. Even though you might be a completely different person and the situation might be different, they don't know any better. They're just trying to protect themselves. The second selfish reason as to why I think it's important to practice empathy is that it allows you to not take things personally. One thing that I've kind of encompassed in my entire life is that I don't take things personally. People's actions are a reflection of themselves and nothing more than that. Now, moving on to the more holistic reasons, it allows you to build deeper relationships with people because you're able to feel what people are feeling and understand where they're coming from. At the end of the day, people want to be heard. People want to be understood. And if you can take a step back from how you're feeling in a situation and put yourself in their shoes, it allows you to connect with them because they see that you're trying to understand where they're coming from. But also practicing empathy, I think, allows you to understand yourself a lot more as well. Once you start being empathetic with other people and understanding where they're coming from, I think you find it easier to understand why you react a certain way to certain things. It allows you to kind of see where these barriers, these protections, these reactions have come from in your life based on your past experiences, so you can work on things better. Now, empathy is something that I'm learning still so much about. I consider myself to be an empathetic person in most situations. Obviously, I'm human and I make mistakes. There are times where I let my emotions take control instead of taking a step back and thinking about things from an empathetic perspective. In terms of what this looks like, I think it depends on the person and the situation. But the biggest thing is to not be reactive to your surroundings or the environment or the situation. You have to be able to take a step back and be patient. You have to also be able to take a step back and put your feelings aside for 1 moment. That's not saying your feelings are invalid or you disregard your feelings, but you have to be able to put your feelings aside for 1 moment so you can see where they're coming from. Now, after the situation has resolved and after you've talked it out, you've worked on the miscommunication, you've supported them depending on their feelings, whatever it may be, then I would say you bring up your feelings. It's really important to not put yourself aside, which I think people do a lot of the time when they're trying to be empathetic. It's important that you're supportive, but you're also protective of yourself. But that's empathy in a nutshell. I probably was babbling a lot. I'm still getting used to talking on camera, which I apologize for. But we're heading off to the gym. I'm going to start recording my session, and in that session, I will talk about the second trait that I think is important to have. The second philosophy that I wanted to kind of say that I follow is the philosophy of knowing when to be rock and when to be water. So what this means is, if you think about a rock, quite literally a rock is just something that's firm. It doesn't move. It's firm in where it stands. And then water is pretty free-flowing. So when it comes to being rock is being firm in your beliefs and what you stand for, knowing when to stand your ground and say no to things, because it goes against who you are as a person, your morals, your ethics, and isn't the way you achieve your goals. And then there's water, and water is free-flowing, right? Water can maneuver, take many different forms, and it will go from A to B in a multitude of ways, depending on the path it has. So when it comes to being rock, I think if you think about where you are now and what you want to achieve, if your friends or a situation or an environment is not conducive towards your goals and who you are, and it goes against your morals, you have to be firm in what you believe, no matter how uncomfortable it is. And it can be really uncomfortable, especially with your friend groups. But the idea of water is to kind of maneuver around it and be adaptive in the way you want to achieve your goals. So if something is in the way of you achieving your goals and it doesn't go against who you are or your morals, can you not just work around it and go towards your goals, or be fluid in the way that you are doing things and be adaptive to your environments? Because when you're adaptive is when you actually learn the most. It also allows for the different opportunities. If you think about you achieving your goals, if it's a straightforward linear path, you have not forged your own path. You're simply following the path someone else has set out. But if you traverse through a forest and all you know is you want to get to the end and you have your starting point, if the road isn't forged, you have a multitude of different ways, and that's how I see it as well. When you tread through the unknown and you adapt to your environments, you'll find so many more opportunities will arise with it. Hopefully that waffling made sense. We'll go to the next thing now because I feel very awkward. So rudely enough, my camera decided to die midway through that. So I've got my post-workout meal, which is just 300 grams of Greek yogurt and every stone fruit imaginable. I've got nectarine, plum, apricot, and peach all cut up here. So it's going to be a nice big meal. Now, in terms of rock and water, I was pretty self-conscious recording at the gym, but that's part of this whole process, is getting used to being uncomfortable and pushing myself. As for an example of rock and water, it comes by situation. So if I give you an example, like when it comes to the gym, my goal is to be lean, right? When it comes to my fitness or my health, my goal is to be lean. And on a daily basis, there are certain decisions I need to make to fulfill that goal, essentially. So I need to think about, if I act a certain way, or if I skip the gym, or if I eat a cheat meal, is this going to affect my goal? And I kind of go through a thought process. When it comes to any situation, first of all, is this against my ethics, against my morals, against who I am as a character and an individual? If it is, so if it's got to do with who knows what, something that's against my morals, I will not do it. I'll simply stand my ground, be rock, and be firm in my beliefs and have those boundaries, which is important even though it's uncomfortable. If it's something like, let's just say, I want to go out and get some food, right? I've been dieting for a while, I feel like getting some food. I will go through the thought process of, is this going to affect my goal? No. Having a few days of enjoying myself is not going to affect my goal of being healthy. Right? Life is to be enjoyed. So I kind of go through a thought process where, yes, it will affect me in terms of, it means that I won't get to my goals the quickest, right? If I have a few days of going off diet, that's a few days more that I've got to catch up on, right? But at the end of the day, I'm fluid, right? It doesn't matter, I can adapt to it. Right? I'd rather go out and enjoy my life with my friends, family, loved ones, than just be having Greek yogurt, veggies, chicken, rice every single day And yes, I'll have the physique I want, but I would have missed out so many opportunities of hanging out and making memories with my loved one. So I recorded the last part, but my audio cut out, so I decided to come to the backyard and record the last part. So the final and possibly the most important trait that I would say is really important is the action of taking accountability for everything in your life. Now, accountability to me means that you shift the blame from anyone else onto yourself. But I say blame as in blame. It's just more like taking ownership for the actions and the outcome based on what you did. So if something didn't go your way, you look inwards. You retrospectively look inwards, look inwards, and you think about what you did, what actions you took, how you behaved, how you thought, and how that kind of went towards the outcome and what you could do better. Essentially, you take a lot of power back in your life because you develop a mindset where you realize that the outcome or the output is solely determined by the input that you put in. So if an outcome isn't what you want, instead of blaming your brother, your sister, your friend, your mom, your dad, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever it is, you look inwards, which is tough. But you look inwards and you say, okay, this didn't go well, but based on my thoughts, my actions, and my behavior, what could I actually do better? So then next time that doesn't happen. So you take ownership and you realize that your life is based on your actions, and you no longer have this victim mentality almost, which I think is a very big thing. In terms of how to take accountability, I think it's actually very tough at first because it requires you to look inwards. It requires you to self-reflect on an outcome that wasn't favorable, right? And it could be anything. It could be with a relationship, it could be with your exercise, it could be with studying, whatever it is. And instead of shifting the blame on someone else, you actually look at the faults that you made. And no one likes doing that because you make yourself look bad. But once you start doing it a few times, it becomes a lot more comfortable and comforting in a way actually, because you realize again that what you do directly has a direct correlation to the output or the outcome involved. For instance, by summer I wanted to be shredded and I'm not. And I take accountability for my actions because every week I was having a cheat meal or a cheat day, which sometimes turned into 2 cheat days. And I take full accountability because that was on me. I hold the power to determine what my physique looks like. I have the power to say no to other people, but I didn't. When people wanted to go out to eat, when people wanted to hang out, when they wanted to go for drinks, I would do that because I also want to enjoy my life. But in the same sense, I need to take accountability because that made me stray from my goal. But again, it'll happen just a bit later on, right? It's about being water. It wasn't against my morals, but I'll adapt. Instead of me having a 6-pack by now, give me 2 months after my Europe trip and I will. But those are 3 traits I think everyone should have. Hopefully it wasn't too awkward talking on camera. I feel very awkward right now, even in my own backyard. But I appreciate all the support. Even my first video got 50 odd views, which was hand on my heart, like really, really nice and touching, and the comments as well. But I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting like 5 views at maximum. So I appreciate that. It's probably a long video. Hopefully the editing goes okay. But I appreciate it. Soldier out.